Steadham Shealy. I hope you're doing well, sir. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about it a couple of minutes ago as I was preserving that 78-79 team, and your name came up this week and said, you got to get Steadman on to talk about these quarterbacks. So we wanted to certainly reach out to you and kind of get your insight. What do you see at this quarterback position here in Tuscaloosa?
Well, I mean, I think we're blessed. We've got two great quarterbacks, and really looks like we got three great quarterbacks. I think Jalen has done a tremendous job, and then you've got Tua that's come in, and he can do it all. So, when Jeff Rutledge and I played, I mean, I was the runner, he was the passer. And then finally, my senior year, they finally let me throw. And because everybody get on the line and you had to throw, no doubt about it. But, it's just what a blessing to have two great individuals and have two great quarterbacks on your team. It's a tremendous blessing for Alabama.
Steadman, and I look back, last year it was Tua, through and being a great teammate. Certainly the quarterback competition rolled over throughout the offseason and rolled into this season. And then you look at Jalen, also being that ultimate teammate, being respect. And how difficult is that, though, Steadman? Because everybody wants to play, and at that quarterback position, there can only be one primary guy. How difficult is it to sort of accept your role and understand and make the contribution to the team?
Well, I mean, it's hard in a way. But in a way, if your thinking is about the whole and not the one, then that's what you do. Because, I mean, you never know when you're going to be called into action. You never know when you're going to win a game by whatever you may be asked to do. And that's competition and the way football goes. It just shows the real character of a person when you can understand your role and you're willing to abide by the decisions that are made because you're about your team, you're not about yourself. See, a lot of times today it's about, it's about the person and not the whole. And that's the one thing Coach Bryant always, stressed and really taught us is that, hey, it's about this team. Whatever you're asked to do, you do it and do it well, and you be prepared to do it. And, we're going to win, and we're going to win national titles, and that'll take, everything else take care of itself, which it did. So that's just kind of the way I see it. Right now, Tua's playing well. I mean, you can't ask for him to do anymore. Jalen's playing well. It's just Tua has a better ability to, throw the ball downfield, to see the field right now. I think Jalen's coming around in that regard. There are things that Jalen can do probably better than Tua can do. It's just, fitting into what's best for the team.
Well, when you look at Coach Saban, I think the one thing, because you look at all these different programs and quarterbacks, won't lose the starting job, they're getting up and leaving, and I'm not criticizing other programs. I'm just really admiring the way that Coach Saban has managed this. I mean, as a former player, knowing what Coach Saban's going through, take a minute here and talk about Coach Saban managing this and keeping both of these players engaged and also showing respect to both these guys.
Well, I think the best thing Coach Saban's done is allow both of them to play. I mean, it'd be one thing if, like some schools, he's starting quarterback and he's going to play 3 quarters. Well, no, he's allowing Jalen to play and Jalen to excel. And, that's one of the best ways of handling a 2-quarterback situation. Just like me. When I was behind Jeff, I knew I was going to play every game. And how much I played is how well I did. But I knew I was going to play every game. I knew I was going to be in situations where, they were tough situations. It wasn't just a mop-up role. I was going to play. And I think that's what Coach Saban's done with Jalen is, he's had him in the right position, and he's also just, he always refers to them both as great players and competitors, and he doesn't kind of single one out over the other. And he's the master at handling stuff like that.
We're talking to Steadham Shealy, former quarterback at the University of Alabama, national champion, multiple national champion quarterback at the University of Alabama. Let me go back to your high school days at Dothan and getting recruited. Who recruited you? Who was in charge of recruiting you to the University of Alabama?
Paul Crane was.
Okay. Can you share some
insight? Do you remember who Paul Crane was?
I do. Yes.
Okay. I know it goes back, but he was only there 1 year. He left. And normally that's the kiss of death. When the coach that recruits you leaves, then, you're on an island. The best thing I had going for me is that Coach Bryant became, the person that stood up for me and gave me the opportunities and things of that nature.
So now, when Paul Crane was recruiting you, obviously an offensive lineman here in the early 60s under Coach Paul Bear Bryant, but as a coach, what was Coach Bryant's role in kind of meeting that legendary coach? Because in the development, when you were recruiting coming out of high school, he was already a big-time legend. What was his role in your recruiting process?
I'll tell you the funniest story. It was at the end of the season. We were in the state playoffs, and I think we just completed playing Mountain Brook, for the state finals. And that next week, I had Doug Barfield from Auburn in my living room. I had Vince Dooley from Georgia out in the car. And all of a sudden, my mom opens the door and says, "Come here." And so I go in there, and it's Coach Bryant on the phone. And Coach Bryant, I pick up the phone, he goes, "Son, what jersey have you always wanted to wear?" Of course, I mumbled around and finally said the crimson. He goes, "Well, what's your problem then?" He said, "If you'll commit, I'll come down and sign you personally." And that was it.
So that there was no way you could tell Coach Bryant no, right?
Well, I didn't commit then, but that had a real strong influence. I went and spent a day in the woods, my dad and I did, just in prayer, seeking the Lord. Where do you want me to go? And because, see, Alabama had signed the top 5 quarterbacks in the state the year before. And everybody, everybody's in your ear that, hey, you go to Alabama, you'll never be heard from, so to speak. You'll never get to play. And so, I had a tough decision to make. And but God wanted me at Alabama, and that's where I went. And he was completely faithful to me in every way. And so, it was hard. There were times when I would question, what am I doing here? Because, when I played, it was tough. I had to run the scout team. I had to do the gauntlet. I was a scholarship quarterback, but I was number 9 on the depth chart starting off. So
I had
heavens,
to kind
of, fight my way up. But the wishbone was my offense. I was faster than, the quarterbacks and guys and could run. But, I had to, I was behind a great quarterback, and that was Jeff Rutledge, who was a great passer. And so that, there was a lot of challenges there. It was hard. But, if you love Alabama, and all the Shealys have graduated from Alabama, my sister was a Bear girl, and, I love the university and loved Alabama and loved Coach Bryant. And so I was happy to be, in other words, it was in my blood to be at Alabama. I love the university and the team and, good, bad, or whatever, it was there, and I was committed.
Steadham, as someone that holds their faith at certainly a priority like you did as a player here, as you do now in your life, how rewarding is it in the current time that we live in 2018? And I'm not saying it's harder. It's just there's more challenges, there's more hurdles. But both Jalen and Tua speak openly about their faith. I mean, Tua was just interviewed about 4 or 5 days ago. No, I'm sorry, Tuesday. It's not been that many days. And, he talked about the platform that God has given to him. He talked about his faith. Jalen puts out scriptures on social networks. I'm sure there's probably a sense of appreciation for someone that has the faith that you do and I do and many of us do that can appreciate the quarterbacks here at Alabama standing on solid foundation.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to fall on my face before the Lord in thankfulness because, knowing Jesus and walking with the Lord and being his ambassador and having, the platform, whatever God has for you, that's your opportunity to share what you feel like life's all about. I mean, it's not just football, it's about the Lord. And because football will be over, then life starts and, families start and work starts and all the, responsibilities continue on. And it's just what a blessing. And I guess I don't look at it as a quarterback controversy. I just look at it as a quarterback opportunity to, just trust in the Lord. And because God's not caught by surprise in all this. These are his children and they're, he's in charge.
Steadman, someone brought up something yesterday, and I don't know if this is a myth or something that's grown, but they were talking about your relationship with Coach Bryant, and they brought up that you would have Bible studies with Coach Bryant. Is there truth to that?
I wouldn't say Bible studies. I would say a lot of Bible times of, discussing the Lord and talking about spiritual matters and talking about, life and what he thought about things. And, I'll never forget one day somehow we were talking and interacting and he looked at me and goes, Steadman, you may not believe this, but I bet you I pray more than you do. He said, there's never a time when I don't see someone who's less fortunate than me that I don't pray for him. And, it's just, we just had a tremendous relationship. I was just so fortunate to, just be a little kid from Dothan that, got to be Coach Bryant's eyes and ears. I had the most powerful non-paying job in America. Because, Coach Bryant wanted to hear what I had to say about certain things. And, I had to learn to kind of be quiet because I could influence what may happen, And that was just the relationship. And then, I ended up doing his show with him his last year. And I was the first person to know that he was going to retire. How would you like to do that show?
Oh, my heavens.
All right, when he walked in that Sunday morning, and I'm like, oh, my gosh.
So walk us through, because, Steadman, if you can, walk us through. How did you find out that he was going to retire?
Well, we'd always go up to the TV station on Sunday morning, and I would get there a little earlier than he would because, I was a 24-year-old kid doing the Coach Bryant show. It was pretty amazing. And so I would have to kind of walk around and get calmed down, and because I can get real amped for things. And he walks in, and we're kind of just sitting there talking a minute, and I could tell something was up. He goes, I'm going to retire. He said, to allow Reggie Collier to run all over us, it's just not good. He says, I think I'm losing my edge and I'm going to retire. And that was his words.
Wow.
That's Coach Bryant. When he felt like when he wasn't, doing the best he could be, he was like, nope, that's it. So, and that's what happened.
Final question. We're talking to Steadham Shealy here as we preserve the history of the Alabama Crimson Tide. You practice law. You've got offices in several parts of the state. And I believe there's still an office here in Tuscaloosa as well as your hometown of Dothan. How often do you catch yourself doing things, saying things in your leadership role that reminds you of Coach Bryant?
I mean, almost every day. Or there'll be something, or I'll have a saying, or I'll be doing something, it's just amazing all the things that he would share and talk to us about, and just about life, and sharing those, he called them little ditties. You want to share with your children, you want to share with people you're around, because he understood about not being complacent. He understood that every day you got to get a little bit better. No matter where you are, no matter how successful you are, you've got to get a little better every day. And that was Coach Bryant. And, I can still hear so many things he would say. Just amazing.
Stedman, I'll end it with this. I talked to our mutual friend last night, Bill Searcy, which is in a fight for the big cancer as he was diagnosed when you guys celebrated the 78 team a couple of days ago. And I remind our audience quite often, there's a lot of prayer warriors out here in the audience, and we need to continue to remember our friend. He's going to be starting chemo. He was scheduled to start it this past Tuesday. They delayed it. They did an exploratory surgery, and I've emailed the athletic director at Alabama. They're going to be in touch with him as well, and certainly remember our mutual friend, Bill Searcy.
Amen. And everybody just be in prayer for him.
No doubt. Stedman, thank you, sir.
One
no,
good
go
thing,
ahead.
let me just say this. He knows Jesus. God, in his mercy and grace, he knows the Lord. So that's neat.